Yeah, a lot of judging, a lot of talking. Hey, Banu.
Hey, Banu.
Good to see you in your Sunday best.
Hi, Pedro. Hi, Dennis.
Hello.
Hello.
So, what's the game plan? Who's hosting this?
Yeah, we are joining by others other than Rava. Few more jury members are coming, and Mr. Pedro, you have time. You can hear me, right?
Sorry.
You can hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, perfect. Dennis, you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a week, huh, Banu? You must be feeling relieved.
No, actually, not yet.
Not yet.
You haven't put me in as one of the speakers, therefore I cannot access it. I'm watching from.
Yeah, there are so many different things with this platform. We are already live.
Curve, huh?
Yeah. So maybe maybe I will start sharing my screens, what it's all about.
Hello. Shall we start, or should we just wait until some more people get in?
Yeah. Rava, you can start. Actually, I just wanted to share my screen.
Right.
You guys can see everyone?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. Let me welcome everyone. Yes. So finally, after Rava, are you going to speak or should I?
No, why don't you start?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. This has been a really challenging week for us. 5 days, a lot of exhaustion. We managed to have the agenda, as you can see on your screens. The week started from 9th of November and today is finishing. We have more than 70 speakers actually, 28 panel discussions. We received almost 470 ideas, and we chosen 105 ideas to present during the week. We got 18 events parallelly going on, day by day increasing, a good overload on whole team. And today I am very happy to finish this whole week with a clear winner, which will be announced by His Excellency Mr. Pedro Lopez, who is the Minister of Technology and Innovation from Cabo Verde. Thank you and welcome joining us. Rava, you can take it from here.
All right. Thank you and welcome everybody. Let's see who's in the room, because all I'm seeing is a screen now. I see Dennis is in, and His Excellency Pedro Lopez. So Dennis, you've been judging, I take it, or are you from Startup World Cup?
No, so I've been judging, but actually I was a judge at Startup World Cup in Vietnam last year, physically on the ground.
Right.
So very interesting to do a Startup World Cup session, but virtually this time around. So
yeah. Right. So since you've been judging, I don't know if you've been following any of the panels or the parallel events that we've been having. Have you been able to catch any of them?
Oh, well, I was a panel moderator for one of them. So basically, yeah, we talked about tourism tech quite extensively, which is a very interesting discussion and a very relevant one.
Yeah. So in the judging rounds, what were the highlights for you? Did you feel like there were a lot of new ideas or ideas that are going to change the infrastructure of Africa's business? How was that for you?
Look, these things are always a mixed bag, right? That's the reality of it. Once again, I've seen it in a few countries, right? From the U.S. to kind of North America to Europe to Asia. But, definitely some interesting ideas. I like the fact that a lot of kind of social angle focused, sort of nonprofit driven ideas as well. So very inspiring to kind of see people not just worry about, hey, we want to make a ton of money from our app, right? but actually addressing real social issues that that Africa is facing. I think that's amazing. Some definitely very interesting ideas.
Do you think the situation that has been since March, the COVID situation, the crisis, has changed the way people go about finding ideas, or go about maybe not seeking profits, as you say, non-profit ideas and such? Do you think that has something to do with it?
Look, I was actually part of Asia's first, judging panel for Asia's first post-COVID-19 accelerator. So they actually ran an accelerator focused on post-COVID ideas. Of the things that I've seen, I wouldn't say they were kind of very focused on that aspect. There were a couple of startups that were addressing that directly, but on the whole, I guess, what I did like is the fact that, because it is more virtual, it made it more accessible to people from all parts of Africa to partake. So for me, that was really inspiring to see, people from, Djibouti to kind of, I guess Ghana, right, everywhere, right? So from all parts of Africa, Ethiopia, everywhere, kind of, pitching, which maybe if it were a physical event, it would be a lot harder for them to make it down. So I think that aspect of it was really cool, just to see that, kind of the unity of the continent.
Yeah, I completely agree. Actually, we had people from Europe as well. And actually, one of the pictures today was based in Brazil. So it's very diverse. And I think even people that were tuning in to watch what was going on in terms of the panels were, the panels were meant to create knowledge, share knowledge, and inspire the innovators in terms of how they want to approach the different tracks or areas that they want to make better. Sarah, have you been following any of the proceedings this week? I'm talking to you, Secretary. Yes, we can.
Mr. Lopez, I think, yeah, that's addressed to you.
Now to hear you. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here in the closing ceremony of Africa Innovation Week. It's exciting to see more and more events being organized virtually. I think COVID-19 brought a lot of bad things, but the good thing is this opportunity of having decentralized events where normally young Africans cannot attend. And now, because of this situation and these virtual sessions, people are more engaged and they can participate as not just as listeners, but also as actors, and that's very important.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I think, will you excuse me 1 second? My colleague is... I'm sorry about that. I think the digitalization, or maybe the fact that we're holding it digitally, has engaged a lot more people. We've managed to recruit brand ambassadors from all over Africa, which was extremely impressive. How much of an engagement there were, and how much of interest there were to promote and get the information out there as much as possible. And as you say, it wouldn't have been as easy to pitch ideas physically. So do you think this is the future of events or weeks like this? I'll throw it out. Yeah,
it's hard to say that this is the future, because I think the solution will be something hybrid, because people, they really need to connect with each other. Especially sometimes I see developers, they barely leave the place where they are developing their ideas. So it's also not just good for business, but also good for people to connect with others from different places of the world. Africans connecting with people from Asia, Asians connecting with people from America. It's very, very important. And especially with what COVID-19 showed us is that one of the things that we have is global challenges right now. Before we could say, okay, this disease is just from Africa, or we could say, okay, this problem is from specifically from one continent. But now with COVID-19, we had a global challenge. So I think we need to address it in that way. And virtual events are fantastic, but we need to get together.
Yes, I mean, yeah, I mean, being around people physically is very important. I think a lot of people have been hit very, very hard by the isolation. And I mean, there's mental health and, of course, the fear of being sick as well, catching the virus, and being the fear of, your family catching it as well. So it's been quite an interesting and very unique experience for a lot of people. Dennis, what do you think about the previous question that I asked? Did you think this is the future of, weeks and, events like this?
Look, I honestly hope not. I really, what I experienced in Vietnam, being kind of, part of it, having everyone come from different Asian countries. Like, I love the fact that people come together. Like, it's great. Obviously, it's going to be a big part of this. Like, there are going to be virtual events. It's going to be a mainstay. But on the whole, I really hope that I'll get to travel to Africa next year, for this event, right? As opposed to kind of doing it virtually. So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But I mean, I'm just going to follow up on that, because a lot of people, a lot of the, like you said in the beginning, maybe they wouldn't have been able to physically be there and pitch their ideas or even participate. And it was, I wouldn't be sure if we would have broadcast it even.
Sure.
So what do you think is going to happen once, and if things go back to normal?
Look, I actually think it's going to be more of a mixed model, right? That's going to be the reality of it. So, whereas before it was purely a focus on being there, kind of missing out, I think a lot more of these events are now going to be a dual kind of mode type situation, right? Where if you can't make it, here's your, you can still basically network and meet people. Because like I said, once again, I think, to be honest, I think the appetite for in-person events after all this is over is going to kind of increase even more, right? Because everyone's going to be starved for in-person communication. So I do think, mixed model for these events, but, like the physical aspect, I really hope personally that it comes back.
Yeah. I think maybe perhaps those who can be physically available, then they can come and participate, and then those who cannot be, they still can apply and participate digitally.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good solution to that. But so how do you see? I'm going to start with just the concept around African Innovation Week, because now it has reached a lot more people than it did, for example, the first time around.
Yeah.
How do you see the impact of such an event, or such an organized event anyway, having positive changes in the continent and in the world in general, of course?
I think actually Mr. Lopez should answer that, because obviously he's a little bit more qualified to kind of answer that question.
I was actually aiming at both of you, but
oh, okay. Well, look,
and Dennis, thank you so much. I was last Web Summit. Web Summit is one of the biggest tech events in the world. We attended and we won. We were the only African country with a country stand on the Web Summit, a 4x4, a big investment for a small country like Cabo Verde. And what we did was taking our startups to the event, but not just our startups, also universities, also NGOs. Basically, we took our community of ICT, around 20 people from Cape Verde to Europe, to attend the event. And before going to the event, we had a training session of a week here in Cape Verde, intensive training session from someone that came from Israel, from Startup Blink, Eli David. And it was fantastic for those young people. But I will start wondering while I was walking around the event, and I thought, okay, in this type of events, we are designing the future, right? And the lack of African presence, it's something that we need to reflect on, because if we want to design the future, we cannot design the future without Africa. And I understand that this type of presence of our startups needs to be an investment of the government. And the role of the government should not be to create jobs. And I think we need to change the approach. The role of the government should be to create opportunities for young people, to leverage their ideas, give them visibility, give them opportunity to exchange ideas with other startups that have more experience or also want to learn with them. So I think that's very, very important. And we need to create a model here. Because some countries are still in a developing stage, so they have not the chance to allocate a lot of resources to participate on these kind of events because they are very expensive. We're talking about the flight, talking about accommodation, talking about like so many other things. So how can we be more inclusive, organizing global events to have African countries participating on it? And also, how can we create some kind of joint effort from some funds or from, well, we need to think about it to create some opportunities for African startups to participate on this kind of events. So I think that's really important because it's great that Cabo Verde now as a Secretary of State for innovation, and Cabo Verde is always a country that bets on human capital. But I'm from West Africa region, and I know the political situation in other countries, and I know the talent that we are wasting. So we need to do something about it. And the tech world, I think it's a special place because it started with a movement of people that want to make the world a better place. And sometimes we forget about it, and I don't need to say it in a utopic way. I think we need to practice it every day at each level, government level, startup level, everything, NGO, everything that we are doing, always thinking, how can this innovation, this process make the world a better place? Sometimes we think that's very, very difficult, but no, actually it's simple.
No, look, and I agree with you. And something that I want to follow up on, I guess this is the official announcement, right? But we're actually working on a funding platform that connects, I guess, emerging market, frontier market startups with capital from basically, I guess, other parts of the world, right? So one of the things that, I've seen, which is really inspiring, is that there were ideas, and once again, via this kind of virtual forum that are now, able to go overseas, right, fairly easily. But the thing that's lacking is really capital access. So, like I said, the reason, basically Frontier Funder is the platform that we're launching next year. And that's going to help, with what exactly you mentioned, in terms of giving, African countries, various economies access to global capital, which they now lack, right? Because there's obviously, a disproportionate amount of venture capital in Europe and the US going to those startups, and it's not reaching other parts of the world. So we're basically launching, Frontier Funder to solve that exact problem. And I was really inspired a few world-class kind of startup ideas that came out of African Innovation. So, I definitely think it was a great way to kind of expose the continent, to a bigger kind of ecosystem of, investment.
Fantastic.
Yes. I absolutely agree. And I mean, this is why digitalization and accessibility is very important. I see Violet joined us. Are you still with us, Violet?
The joys of virtual conferences.
And Beryl, yeah, I mean, always. But yeah, I'm going to, until we're able to hear from either of them, I'm going to follow up on what you said, Secretary. You said that a lot of talent is being wasted because of lack of infrastructure and making it possible from the policy side and such. How can the diaspora bridge this gap? Is there anything that we can do in that sense?
Definitely. Well, here in Cape Verde, we are a small country in West Africa, as I mentioned before. 3 hours and a half to Lisbon, 1 hour to Senegal, and the closest African country to US and also to Brazil. And we share the same language of Brazil. So Cabo Verde is basically in a crosswalk between continents. And I invite everyone to visit. Dennis, we should be in touch because I would love to bring you here to Cabo Verde. It's a magic place. Regarding the diaspora, imagine the importance of the diaspora in some countries. Like in mine, we have in Cape Verde 500,000 people, but outside, just in Boston area, we have 1 million Cape Verdeans. So double of the population. And they are in the specific place that is with a lot of universities and with a lot of investment in terms of innovation, that is Boston area. The Chief Development Officer of the city of Boston, the person in charge to attract investment to the city, is Cape Verdean of second generation. And more I receive here in my office, normally summertime, holidays, Cape Verdeans, they work around the world. And they are not the type of diaspora that we had before. These people are not moved by money. These people they really want to connect and give their contribution to the land of their grandparents and land of their parents. There is a sentimental thing that it's really involved, and we need to take take advantage of it, and we need to connect people more and more. We have to deconstruct this idea of the diaspora that comes normally to African countries during summer to bring backpacks and pencils to poor kids. We need to stop with that. We need to create opportunities for someone that is in diaspora, support their nephew with some money to open their company. We need to completely change things, because sometimes we spend a lot of time in the Western world, and I'm a son of the diaspora, that we stop thinking what is really important for Africans. And I think no one remembers what type of football ball, if it was a fantastic ball or if it was just made out of paper. Memories are not things, are experiences. So sometimes we have to completely change that. But also, we cannot leave the responsibility on governments. Here in Cabo Verde, we already have ministers of communities, ministers of the diaspora. It never works. We need to connect young entrepreneurs. We need to connect Cape Verdean that is in Boston and is a founder, and he wants to invest in the continent with someone that has their own startup here in Cape Verde. We need to do that. I know there are a lot of platforms trying to do that, but somehow I think we are still in the beginning. It's going to be a long path. I think, again, COVID-19 forced people in a digital transition, and more people are using internet to connect, internet to do businesses. So I think that's the future, connecting the diaspora with their country. But not just that, but also attracting diaspora to return. I'm part of the Obama Foundation, and 2 years ago I spent 1 week with the Obama Foundation in Joburg, and I asked President Obama, how can we change the brain drain, revert the brain drain in Africa? And he told me, if you want to go to cinema, if you want to go to theater, maybe in Europe, or if you want to eat in fancy restaurants, you can stay in the US. But if you want to really look for opportunities, they are in Africa. And not this mentality of, like I'm going there to change the country. No, it's because opportunities are really here. And look at big companies like Google and other big players. They have their eyes in Africa. So we as Africans, we cannot see rocks where the others see diamonds. So we need to create programs as well to attract our diaspora. Here in Cape Verde, we want to create a program specific design for the diaspora. It's inspired on Startup Chile, inspired as well of the idea of returning to Israel, or Israelis did to return to Israel. Basically, it's a program. We want to call it Sikabado, that in Creole means if you never leave, you cannot return. So what we want is to open a competition, a global competition for Cape Verdean and descendants of Cape Verdeans, where we fund them. And we select 10 ideas that are strategic for the country, and we select them to come to Cabo Verde. And I think more and more we need to see diaspora as a capital, not someone just to help the country, but someone that can add a lot of value to create jobs, to give experience, give knowledge. And you have African talent spread in America, spread in Europe, spread all over the world. We need to take advantage of it, because now everyone is dancing to the rhythm of the continent.
Yes, thank you. That was a very important input there. Beryl, can you hear us? Can you hear us? I think you're okay. I'm just going to ask you to unmute 1 sec. Beryl, can you
make
hear
a
us?
very quick comment because I sort of want to mention, in terms of what Mr. Lopez said, but I think, Finland is a great kind of model for other African countries to follow because the country has a population that is very tiny effectively, right, compared to most African geographies. But in terms of supporting its innovation infrastructure, its startups, it's punching well above its weight, right? So there's no reason that other African economies can't model the same kind of thing. So it's just, something that I want to point out there, that there are kind of, Israel is a great example. You mentioned that. And yeah, I think a lot more African countries can actually implement that sort of, that exact same scheme.
But that scheme, I want to follow up on that because I don't think Beryl can hear us. So I think I'm just going to ask you. So you see, a lot of the things that you told us now, the plans is of course on a national basis. Do you see that being a more continental thing? And if so, how do we do that?
I don't think it needs to be continental, right? Because continental things are always hard to pull off. I mean, look, you're in the European Union, right? I think it needs to be country specific, and it needs to be a mix of private and public, right? And once again, there's great examples. Israel's a great example where the government actually works with private organizations to make that happen. Once again, Finland, which is a country 3 times as small as Israel, right? But once again, they're developing the private sector. There's more venture capital probably in Finland than there is in more third world countries, right? Even though there's a disproportionate, like I said, amount of startups and talent in those other countries. So yeah, I think it needs to be a mix of public and private. I've heard interesting ideas, especially in the chat that we had around tourism tech. A few of those speakers were involved in the public sector as well. So there are definitely things that can be done, say in Kenya, where the government works more with private kind of startup communities, and same with Nigeria, say the bigger economies. But this is where I guess smaller African countries can really stand out. I mean, Cape Verde is a great example, right? I mean, population-wise, it's nowhere near any of the other African economies, but they're obviously trying things and doing things and punching above their weight, right? So I think it's just Ethiopia is a great example. Obviously what they're doing in that sense. So I think it's a model that can be replicated anywhere. It just has to be, someone has to drive it. That's really the, that's the key.
Do you want to add anything to that, Secretary?
I agree with what Danny said. Sometimes we focus too much on having continental steps, while I think countries should be something that countries should do individually, and then you'll have the continent as a whole. But let me tell you what we are doing here in Cape Verde, and I think it's great because such a small country, we have big goals. The country is small, but we have big goals. We are creating a tech park here, not just to serve the country, but to serve West Africa. A tech park that is a big investment for a small country again. Also, we are investing on sea submarine cables, a link that will connect South America to Europe. It will pass through Cape Verde. We're investing $25 million in that submarine cable because we want to improve our connectivity, even though in all the islands of Cape Verde, we can now go on the web on 4G, and we can, I think, in the future.
Bhanu, we can hear you. Please mute your mic.
No problem. I'm hearing a lot of noise.
Yeah.
So as I was mentioned, here in Cape Verde, we have the highest access in West Africa per 100 citizens. We have 80 accesses per 100 citizens on the internet. So it's really important to give access to people on the internet. Also, the coverage is high, and we are reducing the price. And not reducing the price for everyone, but especially for education and technical training. I think that's really important. If you want entertainment, unfortunately, you'll have to pay for it. But if you want to learn something, that's the role of the government to create opportunities. If you cannot afford it, it should be the government to give that possibility to you. Also, in Cape Verde, we have web labs that basically it's a project where boat containers a bit higher than normal with solar panels in all the secondary schools where we have 12 computers inside. and kids can learn robotics and they can learn how to code in all the secondary schools. So that was very important for us to reduce school dropping, and also we are betting on having English on early age for kids, because English is the language of internet. Also, we created a lot of programs like CVD Voucher is one program, because we lack of capital seed here in Cape Verde, and capital of risk is something that we don't have here in Cape Verde. So we as government, we decided to create a voucher for Cape Verdeans that want to start their startup. 3 minimum wages per, the amount of 3 minimum wages per Cape Verdean. It's not something that you do by your own. So it can be up to 2 people per startup, and more or less $300 each one of them. Is not much, but then we offer office space, support, technical support, all the incubation for them to survive in this difficult world of startups. So it's the first digital entrepreneurship program in Cape Verde for our young people. And we created out of nothing with this program 35 startups, because we have a lot of ideas. Our goal is to support 100 Cape Verdeans per year. We also created a program for long-term unemployed Cape Verdean to reconvert them into coders. Intensive 18 weeks of learning to code. We did a partnership with Code Academy. And the good thing is when they finish their training, they will have a job. And we want, again, to support 100 Cape Verdeans per year in the training to become coders. And we have more programs right now with COVID-19. Cabo Verde depends a lot on the tourism sector. 30% of our GDP depends on the tourism sector. So the World Bank said Cape Verde is one of the most affected countries, not because, unfortunately, the number of people that died, but because of the effect on the impact on the economy. So I challenge the Minister of Tourism. I'd like to do things that I'm a non-conformist. So I challenge him, instead of hiring a consultant company that will design the future of tourism and will be a book that will stay and remain on the tables of the ministers, we open a competition of ideas for our digital startups. We call it Reinvent Tourism. It's through our platform, Digital Cabo Verde Digital. So we are giving $10,000 per each winner. It's 3 winners. And they will give ideas to reinvent the tourism, and it's going to be a platform, an open platform of ideas. It work as an hackathon. And we have many, many more programs that we are designing here. What we did is to create, first, a lot of people talk about an ecosystem, but you cannot have an ecosystem if you don't have a community. And we try to gather talent of young people, universities, NGOs, government, and we create this umbrella with the organization Cabo Verde Digital. You can visit us at digital.cv. By the way, Africans and non-Africans, people from all over the world, we are soon going to announce a digital nomad visa, because here you are completely safe. Doesn't matter the color of your skin, your sexuality, or your religion. In Cape Verde, you are really, really safe. You have nice beaches, it's always sunny, and people are really friendly. So we think that from here, with good connectivity, you can work and do your job from the islands of Cabo Verde. So visit us on digital.cv, know our programs, because we are not designing them just for our country. We want to be a hub for West Africa, and we want to have the talent of Africans here, but not just Africans, people that enjoy our lifestyle, enjoy the good things that our country has. If they have talent and they want to add value to our community, we count on you.
Yes. Absolutely. I think maybe you might have answered my question in terms of what could this be a continental thing? And I think what we can do as a continent is learn from each other and maybe adapt the things that are working for the other countries, right? Hi, Violet and Beryl. We've been really trying to get you for a while, but I think maybe you haven't had access to the mic just yet. Could one of you try to introduce yourself? No, I think you might be Violet. Why don't you try? Yeah.
Yeah, I think Beryl
Able to hear me?
mic is now working. Yeah, go ahead, Beryl.
Okay, I guess it's my earphones that are not working. I should do away with this. Apologize. If you do hear a bit of background noise, you'll just forgive me for that because I'm working from an environment that will.
It's lagging a little bit. We can't really hear you. Actually, it's lagging a lot. Can you try and speak again, please? Yeah, I think it got stuck. Violet, why don't you go in the meantime?
Oh, hi. So it's awesome to be part of the busy, and it was awesome listening to the different pitches from youth across the continent. An Innovation Week, because it is promoting the importance of the ICT.
Are you still with us? Oh.
I've seen her freeze up before. I think her connection's a little bit unstable. I actually had my first dropout of the whole week as well, so that was interesting.
Right. No, actually, she was one of the judges yesterday, and it worked just fine. She was on the whole time. Beryl, welcome back. Can you try and speak again? Well, you're on mute, so let me unmute you first, and we can give it another go. Please. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yes. I'm constantly logged out. One of the reasons is because of energy, of course, and access to. So I think I was very happy. Yes, not yesterday. I think it was yesterday when there was a lot of innovative ideas, energy, and of course, stabilizing access to energy. Now, I think in to providing an opinion from the judging panel perspective. So there, and I am an energy lawyer. I specialize in emerging energy markets in both East Africa, Tanzania.
Beryl, try to turn off your camera. Maybe it will take less internet access. Yeah, but yeah, try that. Yeah.
Yes. So I will skip the introduction so that I just go into discussing some of the issues that I identified with. I think it's more important than a simple introduction. So from a
I think she dropped out. Violet, are you? No, it doesn't seem like. Or can you hear us? Are you around? No. Then I'll ask Dennis.
Last one.
Yeah.
Landing, huh?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the two of you are the ones that are staying in with no internet problems, so I think I'm going to just hammer you with questions until someone else comes.
Yeah.
Tourism tech, right? And the secretary said that they're trying. A lot of countries that rely on tourism for their for their economy have been hit very hard because of COVID. Were there any ideas that you believe could revolutionize the industry as it is right now?
Look, I'll just have a prelude just to preface why I was actually the panel judge for tourism tech, right? So 10 years ago when I came back to Russia, because my family is here, I helped to launch Russia's first hospitality association, right? And then when I came back here, I was involved actually in 2020, COVID year, in helping to launch a consultancy, right? So, and my mom was actually involved in tourism here in Russia. So the problems faced by Africa and Russia are actually very similar, actually by a lot of countries, in the sense that, there's a large population and then internal tourism is not really well developed, right? So what I didn't see, unfortunately, which I was really hoping for, there are a couple of examples, but not many, is people providing kind of solutions for how to basically rejuvenate and kind of just, bolster internal tourism within Africa, right? Because I mean, people talk about, kind of external tourism and, kind of people coming from Europe, from the US, but there's actually massive opportunity for tourism tech, travel tech startups to really address kind of the, the gap of the internal tourism gap, right? So there were a couple of ideas, presented. What I didn't see, unfortunately, which I was really hoping for, is they were very regional, right? So they were kind of like, all right, so we're kind of in Ghana, it's going to be focused on Ghana. We're saying Kenya or in Tanzania, it's going to be focused on these specific geographies, right? What I didn't see, and which I was really kind of hoping to see, someone goes, hey, you know what? Here's a big problem, right? Well, COVID is a precursor to things to come potentially as well. How do we kind of using technology and travel tech actually bolster the internal tourism, the domestic tourism industry? So unfortunately, I'd love to say that I saw more of those ideas, but I didn't. But hopefully it will inspire people to kind of focus on that, because it is a massive opportunity. Just because if you look at the U.S., their domestic tourism industry is massive, right? Whether it's kind of for hotels or just for attractions. Whereas once again, for Africa and Russia's just two good examples, right? Very big kind of continents, right? Lots of landmass. And Russia is slowly starting to develop that, and for Africa, I think that needs to accelerate, right? Because I mean that can basically, I guess, prevent these kind of COVID-19 situations from just killing the industry altogether, right? If it's more domestic focused. Obviously, the GDP is a big contributor to why that can't happen. But actually, one of the good ideas that I really liked, I can't remember. I think it was out of Tanzania or Mauritius, one of the two. But someone's actually developing a travel agency that basically allows you to go a loan for traveling, and then kind of wrap it up into one, offering. So it's a platform for travel, and it's an actual kind of loan service to help you pay it off. So I thought that was a fairly original idea. I think a lot more of that can really help to stimulate, kind of, and actually Ghana is a good example of them kind of implementing a fee, which someone mentioned. I can't remember who it was, but things like that, where governments can cooperate, within the continent to kind of, lower those barriers for travel, internally. So yeah.
Yes, but and that's why panels like this, after the whole week has gone, are important, because then now people have something to think about, right? The innovators have something to take away from this.
Exactly.
Violet, how's your internet now? Let's see. How's your internet now, Violet? Oh, I think.
Better now.
Good, good.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes. So my name is Violet Mbiti. I'm the founder of a digital health platform called Adolescent Youth, SRHR. Yeah, that fills the knowledge gap with regard to sexual reproductive health information. So with regard now to the presentations that I listened to starting yesterday on health tech, some of them that stood out for me is one that's already generating $800,000. They told us in revenue, and we're looking forward to seeing. And that is in Uganda, and also in Ethiopia, one about robots. Like that can even tackle, yes, like that can even be utilized at this particular time of COVID-19. So we've had serious presentations, and we are looking forward to seeing what more can be done, and Yeah, so like even I was speaking to my fellow judges previously, the one that we were with today. I told them that this is going to be competitive, considering we have different people from different sectors presenting, from agriculture, health, fintech. So it's all about at the end of the day, the winner will. It's all about the person who's gonna win, and we wish them all the best. But these presentations this week really showed how Africa is endowed with young people who have knowledge and are willing to exercise that knowledge and bring in through innovation. So all I can request even the African governments is to empower their youth, support them financially so that they can be able even to bring their ideas to fruition. Yeah, so that they may not be at the ideation stage. And also other stakeholders, angel investors, venture capitalists, to fund those initiatives so that, because at the end of the day, they are going to cut costs for the various governments, and they are also going to be of benefits to all the people. So yeah, that's my view.
Oh, that was great. Thank you. I mean, I think I completely agree. I mean, I was hosting one of the parallel pitching sessions, and Violet, you were in there. What surprised me is how young some of the pitchers was. I believe one of them was 19 years old.
Yeah,
Which is crazy, and they already have a company started, and they're already pitching at African Innovation Week, and it's a very impressive presentation too. So I think, yeah, the youth is definitely the future, and they're the ones that are going to change everything. And of course, like, Africa is a growing population as well, and by 2050, I believe we're about to be 25% of the world's population, which means there is a huge need for the setting up the I'm sorry, language is failing me today. It's been a long day. There's a huge need for, just innovating and creating infrastructures that are going to make it possible for the future youth and businesses and everybody just to, make it possible for people to work, have a healthy economic future. Let's see. Beryl, how's your internet now?
so as Beryl comes in, I also realized that these innovations are going to even help in harnessing the demographic dividend that we are currently experiencing. You will find that there is a huge youth gap, and these youth are unemployed. But with these innovations in place, you will find that huge youth unemployment is going to be a thing of the past. So it's just a matter of testing them, because some of them that we listen to are in the prototype stage, and some of them are have already started the innovations, and some are even at different stages. But if all of them are tested and they are tried, and they have opportunity even to create jobs for Africa, that would be just awesome.
If I may follow up on that, because there was actually a lot of businesses in. Hi, Noah. Noah from Startup World Cup is joining us, I see.
Hello.
Can you hear us?
Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, we're doing great. Thank you for joining.
Of course.
Yes. Would you like to introduce yourself before I go on about my question?
Oh, yeah, sure. So my name's Noah Lashan. I'm an investor with Pegasus Tech Ventures, and I'm also the manager of the Startup World Cup. So essentially, my main role is I'm an investor at Pegasus. So I do due diligence of startups around the world and help us make our investment decisions for that. But then I'm also managing the Startup World Cup project and all things Startup World Cup. We're really excited to be part of African Innovation Week this year, and continue the relationship with them.
Thank you and welcome. Yes, Violet, I'm going to follow up on a question with you, because you said something about the youth unemployment and such, creating jobs. You mentioned that. And one of the I believe anyway, one of the biggest problems from what I read that we have in Africa now is that a lot of businesses are small, and especially women-owned businesses. They don't have this. They remain small because they start their innovations and companies or whatever it is that they're doing out of necessity, and they don't have the opportunity to expand or raise capital and such. So they don't really have the opportunity to create jobs for others. How do you see that going in the future? What are the solutions you think?
Okay, so one of the solutions I think, and that is already operational, is for us to have more fintech companies that are in place. Because I can speak of Kenya, because you know Kenya, there's the M-Pesa and the M-Pesa platform. So you find that these enterprises that are run by women, okay, small scale businesses, like even the women who sell groceries, you find that they ask for loan at around 3 a.m. They go to work, and by 9 a.m. enough profit to pay back the loan. So if we have this, and this is just on one particular platform, so if we can have several fintech innovations, because the people at the bottom of the pyramid, they have money because they usually cluster themselves into like the Grameen model, which we call like chama or groups. So women at the grassroots, what we normally do is we cluster ourselves in groups and then we donate, okay? And then with each one, and if you're asking for money, you find that it's like we are loaning one another. So if we have these fintech companies on the ground, several of them, the ones targeting the people at the grassroots, they are very few. If we can get fintech companies that are going to be looking at those, that will be great, because most of them you are seeing they are at the level of the banks. But the people at the grassroots, they have money, but some of them, they don't know where to put that money. So some of them take them to the financial FSAs, financial service agencies, okay? So you find that banks don't get this money, and banks all the time ask where we are not generating profit. It is because they are sticking to the same model that was being used 10 years ago. But when they go to the grassroots and carry out the research, they will find that people are there who have the money. But those people who are benefiting from it are the ones who have brought innovation in meeting the needs of these constituents. Yes, thank you.
Rawa, you're muted. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry, I keep forgetting to unmute. Yeah, thank you so much, Violet. Dennis, I think I'm going to ask you the same question, because I know a lot of youth actually do tourism, such as, you know, taking on just freelance or just taking on some clients coming from you know, other countries. And how can we help those small business owners or small businesses grow and allow them to hire people and create jobs for others?
Well, I'll actually answer this a little bit indirectly, because one of the startups that I listen to, they actually do exactly what Violet talked about. So they take, you know, basically mompreneurs in Africa, right, and they supply them with capital and allow them to actually, you know, launch these things and really develop them. So I think, you know, but that was once again one specific country. I can't remember which one it was. I think it may have been Nigeria. Once again, taking that model and kind of implementing it Africa-wide could be amazing, right? Because all of a sudden you're creating, you know, so much more of that kind of access, you know, and then kind of generating that revenue. But, you know, in terms of, yeah, once again, look, the world's a village now, right? It's a global village. So I think, you know, anyone from anywhere in the world has the same access to the same opportunities now, as long as they have an internet connection and you know, and a knowledge, I guess, of certain technologies. So I think, you know, the more that can be, you know, kind of bolstered, you know, Mr. Lopez said around kind of having to work with Code Academy. In my opinion, it's actually a shame that, you know, an African country has to work with, you know, Silicon Valley business, right? Where there should be an African solution for making that happen, right? Like, it's great that it's a government initiative and it's happening, but why isn't, you know, more of this kind of Code Academy model being implemented, you know, sort of globally? Like, I think it's a fantastic kind of way to, you know, move things forward. So, yeah, basically just really kind of, internet access and kind of equipping people with knowledge economy type skills, right? I mean, if you can code, you can basically do anything these days. So it's quite amazing.
Right. Thank you. And Secretary, how about what is the government's role in this, in terms of empowering businesses to be able to create jobs? Oh, we cannot hear you. I think you're on mute.
Okay, creating opportunities, I think that's essential. First of all, internet access, training people, making sure digital literacy is high in their countries, and also I'm not hearing very well. We hear a lot of noise.
Violet, I think maybe I should mute yours. Maybe there's an echo. Can you try now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, basically, if someone thinks that is the role of the government to create startups, no, it's not. So the role of the government is to create opportunities for the ones that want to create startups. And I think there is a new generation in Africa of young people that don't want to depend on and rely on government or even their parents and their family. They think and they find resources on the internet, on the web, and they create their own companies. So basically, that's the future of the continent. And we, as government, we need to create opportunities. Make sure that, like I said before, if someone doesn't have the money to access internet for learning, we'll provide it. Making sure that if someone cannot have the money to start their business, that will make a bridge with the bank sector. Here in Cape Verde, the government doesn't borrow money. What we do is we do the bridges with the bank sector that sometimes is very traditional, and they have a very traditional approach, so it's difficult and complicated for startups. But if the government provides the guarantees, here in Cape Verde, we can provide until 80% of the guarantee for the bank guarantees. They are more open to give money to startups. So I think those are basically the responsibilities of the government, and also visibility. It's very important because right now we are participating on all these events online, but before, just go to global events and you don't see an African presence. So we need to invest money. But there is a challenge for continent, because it's very easy to give all these directions, but there are countries that they are fighting with other issues that are more essential for them. So I think we should not have this perspective that it's an easy path. It's not. There are countries that have lack of water, and we are thinking about startups. Here in Cape Verde, sometimes we invest money on innovation, and the rest of the population is saying, okay, what about hospitals? So sometimes we need to have a balance between immediate investment and return, and also long-term investments that can create opportunities for the future. So this is the challenge for Africa. How can we have two paths? One that is a very, very fast lane, and the other that is not that fast and long-term investments. And we cannot depend, and this is, I'm going to stress this because I think it's important. We cannot depend on political cycles. So it's not possible that someone in the government is doing a job to improve innovation for 5 years, and then becomes a different person and tears everything down. And I think it should be young people to pressure political parties to have a common understanding in terms of innovation for a long term, a commitment not from government A or B, party B or C, but a commitment of the country with their people in terms of innovation, what we should be the vision of the country to improve specific and strategic fields of the country. Here in Cape Verde, for example, where are the strategic fields of the country? The sea economy, because we are surrounded by water, also the tourism sector, agriculture. So how can we improve these sectors with innovation? And not thinking that this innovation is a sector by itself. Sometimes we need to change as well the speech for other people to understand as well what we can do with innovation. And I think that's really, really important. And in Africa, normally 65% of the population have less than 40 years old. So they have the power as well. So we need to get involved in politics as well to change the future. It's not just being in the bench and criticizing what's being done. We need to understand politics to change the things that they need to be changed.
Yeah, that was actually what I was about to ask when you started mentioning that the young people need to get involved in politics as well. That's very important. I think if they're not represented, then nobody's going to represent their interests. Dennis, I think you wanted to add something to that?
I did, because basically it kind of comes back, because you asked me a very narrow question around tourism tech, right? Whereas I actually wanted to make a comment around kind of what can Africa do. So, there are 3 countries from which Africa can actually draw inspiration, right? One of them is Georgia, that basically implemented, a nomad visa for people to come and live for a year, and basically work from Georgia, thereby bolstering their economy. The other one was Vietnam, where I was last year, where I was actually judge at the Startup World Cup there. And, they do a lot of things to promote basically innovation, at that government level, right? So obviously they have, a political kind of, their model is obviously communism still, but, the amazing things that they do to promote startups, it's pretty much right up there with any other, first world economy. And then the other one is Estonia with, their e-visa and things like that. There's actually no reason why those models can't be kind of replicated, say, in any African country, right? It's just a willingness to make it happen and basically actually people driving that. But I mean, these are 3 very, countries without, a massive GDP per capita type setup. So very similar, and yet, they're kind of punching above their weight and really, making a splash on the world startup stage, due to the fact that they're trying these innovative things to, draw people from other countries into their own economies. So that's something that can be done as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dennis. Noah, have you been following any of the panels or anything?
Yeah,
this week?
panels here and there. A little bit bogged down with all things Startup World Cup that's going on right now. We have about 4 events all going on concurrently this week, so that's been a little bit crazy, but I have been trying to follow the African Innovation Week as it's been progressing, yes.
Were there any highlights for you?
Well, actually, I thought that was a really good point that you made, Dennis, before about the Vietnam kind of changing gears. We see, our partner in Vietnam, Tech Fest, actually as a great conference there, and we are very impressed with, the things that they're doing in terms of having, brought their entire cabinet of the Ministry of Innovation to the event for Startup World Cup there. I think that is something that could be replicated in Africa, and just having the government involved in bringing out innovation and getting everybody involved and trying to build ecosystems. That's what the Startup World Cup is all about. And trying to not only connect local ecosystems but also global ones across the world with our grand finale. So I kind of wanted to jump off that point. That was something that really stood out to me thus far.
Thank you. I was about to ask you a question, but then I kind of slipped my mind. What do you have to say? And this is for all of you, of course. What would you say to the innovators, also the rest of them, the ones that will not be automatically registered to Startup World Cup? What would you say to them, and what are your words of encouragement, or how they should go on in their journeys of innovation?
Sure. So I think we like to make the Startup World Cup as open as possible to all startups so that they can compete and apply. Really the only requirement we have is that you need to be registered with your local country. But I would say that, to all those entrepreneurs out there in the audience, keep grinding, keep working hard, because you never know when an idea is going to take off. You might be, for example, one of our portfolio companies, Lark, they were in pretty dire straits at one point, the portfolio company for Pegasus Tech Ventures. And now, they're actually one of our most well-performing startups. So, times can seem hard, but if you cut your burn down and you keep things going and you keep, pushing forward, and as long as, what you're working on is your passion, I think generally, in the long run, things will work out, and, just continue to try to get involved in accelerators and conferences like this and meet people and network. And I think, if you have that strong passion with a good idea and a good business model, all those innovators out there can definitely succeed in one way or another.
Yes, thank you.
And then to kind of pick up on what Noah said, because actually, one of the inspiring things about the Startup World Cup last year, like actually being at Tech Fest in Vietnam, is that, it really showed to me, because I actually love Startup World Cup as a concept. Because think about it, like basically, we actually chose the startup that won the San Francisco finals. They were a Vietnamese startup, right? And what that shows is that really, there's no reason why that startup can't come from any African country, right? There's no reason that the winner can't be from Nigeria or from South Africa or from, Cape Verde, right? It's all possible. It's really a level playing field in that sense. And, kind of saying, a startup that goes from Hanoi to San Francisco and wins, $1 million, like that's pretty inspiring. So, I think, definitely keep grinding away, as Noah said. But one of the things that's a little bit more, because I've been judging, 4 days in a row. So one of the things that I want to say to the startups participating is really make sure that you align your pitches to the expectations that, judges have, right? So what I mean by that, there's a lot of great ideas, but you really have to learn to put them across in a way that's succinct and very to the point, right? Because unfortunately, I was really disappointed to see a lot of great concepts and projects really not go through to the final purely because they weren't able to present their ideas in a succinct way. So, the innovation was inspiring. I think the delivery of it, just make sure that, you're basically really working hard to make sure that your pitches are sharp, and that they actually satisfy the criteria. Because what you're doing then is you're giving your idea wings. Sorry to sound like Red Bull, but you're basically giving your idea wings and allowing it to kind of go further, right? Whereas unfortunately, if you're not kind of meeting that judging criteria, it does make it a little bit hard for for us as judges to actually see the merit of a lot of ideas that are actually really, really good. So yeah, that's my kind of advice to the startups. Ask ahead of time what you're going to be measured on, and make sure that you deliver to that, which is really no different to any pitching or investment scenario.
Secretary, would you like to add something to that?
No, I do it in a passionate way. Always focus on the solution that you provide to people with your technical idea. Don't focus too much on technical issues, and just go for it. I think these competitions are great, but the more important than these competitions is life. And someone lose, someone win. But there are many other competitions, and the important thing is to keep the dream alive and keep pushing. Sometimes we think, okay, 2020 is going to be my year, and then all our business model and all our ideas are devastated by COVID-19 pandemics, right? But the spirit of us as Africans it's in our DNA. It's resilience. So keep pushing, even though sometimes everything looks very, very difficult. But if you look at where you are right now, and if you look behind in 5 years, you did a lot. So keep pushing. People like you that just have the courage to present their ideas. They already should be winners. At least they are for me. So keep doing it. That's it. And smile. Have fun during the way.
Thank you. I did not forget to unmute this time. Violet, how about you? We cannot hear you. You're gonna have to unmute. Let's see. There.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so just to add to what Pedro, Dennis, Noah have stated, it's just a matter of them not giving up. Even if your idea or your pitch wasn't successful, do not give up. Continue refining your innovation, and also be patient. I know, like at this time of COVID-19, it is good to adapt. So when you see that one area is not working, try to adapt so that you can fit the situation. Because as an entrepreneur, like you just have to be flexible. You don't have to be just fixed to it is this way. I won't go to the highway. So it's just a matter of just being flexible, adaptable, even at this period of COVID-19. And if you need help, just get in touch with the team that is here, and also the mentors that you also interacted with during the discussions. And I know that by doing so, you'll find out that you are not alone. You'll find out that you are not alone. And thank you for the founders of African Innovation Week, because you never know how much this platform, the doors it has opened for all the youth in Africa to come and showcase their ideas. They didn't even know that it is practical for them to do so, but because of opening up this platform to youth in the continent, now even adolescents, because there were 19-year-olds who pitched. We just want to say thank you to the organizers. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's very important, especially when it comes. I think if it wasn't for COVID, I don't think that would have happened. I can't believe that I'm saying that's sort of a silver lining somehow. But I don't think this would have been digital if it wasn't, for the pandemic that is going on right now. But yeah, absolutely. Those were very important words of wisdom that you just shared right now. I believe one of our partners is going to join us very soon, but I cannot see him here. Let's see. By the way, I just have some information for you. We're going to take a 5-minute break and do another round of these sessions, if you don't mind, because the jury is not done, and also we have some speeches that need to be made, and I have some more questions for you, of course. So either you can decide to take a break now and then come back at 6 o'clock, or we can wait the 3 minutes that are left and then take only 5 minutes of break.
Now what? You said 6 o'clock. Sorry, I'm not sure what time is it.
That would be I'm sorry, we're in different time zones. I apologize. So basically in 20 minutes time, or 18 minutes to be exact.
Okay. So we log back in 20 minutes. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because it says here that the session is about to end in 7 minutes, which means it's been booked until a quarter. No, what? Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But anyways, please join us back in 20 minutes, sir, and I'll see you all. The rest of you, I think. No, we're not. Violet, you're 2 hours ahead. So in 20 minutes, I'll see you in 20 minutes.
Okay.
All right. Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See ya. Bye bye.